Yes,
Hi, my name is Bob Daniel. I know quite a few people in here. I own the Village Inn restaurant up the street. And I'll be quite honest with you. Yeah, I'm looking at revenue sources up there. And I'm a little confused about the quarter-cent sales tax that is going to be available to go into the pool in a year and a half. Is that correct?
no, it's,
The end of...
well, the quarter cent that's currently in place, we will have collected enough money to pay off the bonds in the first quarter of 2011. So it will, it was a 10-year measure, but it will sunset about a year and a half early. So that will sunset when we collect, sometime in the first quarter, and I'm not sure which month, we'll have collected enough funds because we're almost there. And so once that, what the discussion was is once that's done, why don't we have that quarter cent reauthorized? So once that, we'll just continue collecting it, and then once we've raised enough money, then the money will, the quarter cent then will continue for another 10 years and go specifically into this transportation funding pot.
Okay, so the quarter cent drops off if it's not reauthorized at what date?
That's what in the first quarter of 2011. I don't know which. Yeah, that's, we're on target. I don't know if it'd be January, February, March. We're on target for it to be us to have collected enough money. We will not be able to pay off the bonds early because of the way they were structured. So that money will have to be reserved, but we will have collected enough money to be, you know, to meet that bond obligation. And so then that comes off. If we don't vote, that quarter cent just comes off.
It comes off. You collected enough.
That's correct.
That's the way it's written.
That's right. The way it was written is 10 years or until we collect enough money.
What happens if it's not reauthorized? Does that yellow piece of the pie also encompass the brown piece of the pie? That quarter cent being reauthorized the transportation fee fund, is that correct?
So it can supplement, yeah, what was authorized by council, because more than that was what was authorized by council. That's true.
Okay, so if it does not get authorized, you're saying $72 is the average, or is it going to go to 144?
No, it's 72 per, that's for a household.
Whether or not that gets authorized or not?
That's correct.
If it gets authorized, it could go down.
That's correct.
Okay. My next question is that the restaurants in this city, which have been shrinking in number over the last 7 years, especially the last 2 or 3, are going to be dramatically affected by this transportation. Most restaurants, the national average is a 5% bottom line and profit. Some make more than that, some make less. Corporate restaurants, i.e. Outback, you know, if I owned that restaurant and it was doing the business it was doing, I'd probably be doing pretty well. But for a corporation, it's got to hit a certain threshold. And if it doesn't hit that threshold, they just shut it down. So when they start adding in this fee or this tax that they're going to have to meet here, there are going to be additional restaurants that are corporately owned in the city of Mission that either refuse to come here or that leave as soon as they can get out of their lease because they're going to be corporately marginal in their profit margin. It's going to give Mission 2 things: less opportunity to serve the customers and the residents of Mission, and secondly, it's going to give Mission less sales tax. You know, I don't try to get involved in the politics of it. You know, I've been in the restaurant business 35 years. 2 things I was told: don't talk about religion, and don't talk about politics. You know, I don't know if that's the case anymore. But I will say that I really fear that this is a slippery slope. You know, you made the statement the other night, I was here last week, that, you know, this was set, it's not going to go up. But then someone asked the question, well, that's not what I understand. I understand it can go up if we need to make it go up. Because it's got
the cost of living
index in there, because there's always those little factors. Plus, the roads are going to cost what they're going to cost. That is a set number to repair. And I guarantee you, when you, is it my understanding, and let me, you know, just so I understand this correctly, only occupied operating businesses pay this, not property owners that are vacant property.
There's within the administrative regulations that we're running for, we allow for vacancies, where you can actually petition if a portion of the business is vacant, that you actually receive a credit for that portion. It's vacant into the 1 full year, you get 100%. That's only on commercial property. So examples would be, it doesn't include like county offices that they have vacant space in, but only commercial.
Well, as I drive around Mission, I see an awful lot of vacant property. And this guy named Ira that has his sign up all around town for rent. I mean, yeah, the guy comes in, he's one of those nice, wonderful man. I bet he's got, I don't know, 15, 20, maybe more properties around town. So those aren't going to be charged. Is that correct? So that means anyone that's operating a business is going to be charged more. They're going to have to pay for every business that goes out. And, you know, sometimes it's, you know, that when you work in the business world, it's just, you know, you make a certain amount of money. You get to the point where you go, you know, it just isn't worth it. It just isn't worth it. Just shut down. And I guarantee you that's what's going to happen in this town.
Sales tax that increased on the state level. Is there any possibility any of those funds will be put down to the cities for highway use?
The only thing we get is that, and we're praying we keep it.
Where are they planning on spending the 1% on the state?
To fix their, I mean, they're at a $400 million plus deficit. They're planning on using it to the deficit at the state. States in the state of Kansas it's a huge deficit they have to meet.
And as mentioned before, this has gotten a lot of publicity and a lot of negative publicity for Mission. What plans does the council have to help the small business person with this PR problem that we have?
Well, I'm open for suggestions. Yes, Beverly.
Lauren, at one time, I understood that the city of Mission, being a population of 10,000, expanded during the daytime to a 50,000 population. Wouldn't it be wiser for us to go with another 0.25% increase on our sales tax to let the people that's coming into Mission help us pay for our roads?
Well, we can do that, but a number of those people also come in here to work and go to our businesses that are not sales tax generating businesses. And so when we looked at the transportation utility fee, we really tried to do it where we were, you know, sharing that cost between not just the businesses that had sales tax, but also businesses that had people come in that weren't doing it. And also then with the transportation utility fee, there are a number that don't pay any type of a tax that would contribute under this transportation utility fee. And so we were trying to spread that cost, and the concern, and I'm going to let Mike talk about this in a minute, but you know, one of the concerns we had with a number of the more common ways with using the sales tax or raising the mill is that it continues to put a squeeze on our small business owners, because fewer and fewer people contribute to the pot. And with some of the large businesses like Target, who has really kind of deflated their property value, most small businesses aren't able to do that. And so we tried to, we tried to go about this in a fair way. And we have to take care of our infrastructure. I mean, we cannot do it, but I think the price we pay at the end of the day is far greater than it is for us taking care of it now, especially with the construction costs being what they are. Okay, come on, Beverly.
Okay, last week you passed out, I think you passed it out this evening, frequently asked questions on your paper, and I just have some questions that relate to this, and then I have one other. It says on here, it says the TUF does not have anything to do with driveways or parking lot size, nor is it a tax. Am I right?
That's what it says.
But it's going to be assessed through our personal property tax. That's one thing.
Well, through your real property tax.
Okay. Then it says down here, when taken in context, this is you all writing, the turf is a relatively small share of a tax bill for most properties. That's your writing.
Mm-hmm.
Then it says on size, which you say it's not according to size, but the definition that I got was so much per 1,000 square foot, according to vehicles coming in and out. Well, that's size. I mean, I think you need to rewrite your questions and answers if I'm not right. Mike?
Go ahead, Mike.
It depends on the land use. For example, a school is based on the number of students. A church is based on the number of seats.
That's still size.
A size.
That's still a size. And it says on here, it's not based on size.
For a church, it's the amount of the worship space, which doesn't necessarily relate to the whole campus of a church. As relates to the county office building, there's multiple uses in that building. While it's a big building, only a portion that's used for state licensing. For banks, only the first floor where there's a drive-through is used at the drive-through bank rate. The second floor is treated as general office, which is a secondary rate. And so when you start looking at it, if you just said it's based on square foot, it would be wrong, because there's really 2 or 3 factors that can impact how it's calculated based on the use of the building.
But you keep telling us it's not a tax, but right here you say it is a tax. And one other thing, it says right here, small share of tax bill for most properties. But it is a tax. The other thing is I want to ask you, you said that you're lowering the mill by 2 mills, which for a $150,000 home is $36, right? That's what it says, $36 a year, about.
Right.
But then you're increasing the storm water fee from $72 to $180.
Correct.
Correct. Which is $108, which is 3 times the $36.
Correct. On the stormwater use.
So you're really not lowering the mill. You're charging us more by the time you get through. I mean, that's people can calculate it. And then one other thing is, I know you say that the people in the mission, the businesses in the mission, you said it before that we were in favor of that, which we weren't. I walked, you said walk the city of Johnsonville. I walked Friday, and I talked to so many businesses. There wasn't one business that was for this, that said they knew anything about it, or that they were for this. You really need to listen to your people in the mission, because really, you're not going to want to say anything that was said at the meetings last week. You said about in August, not one word was said of what we said last week. And you know you got so many people that said they weren't, that they're against this. I bet I talked to 100 businesses this weekend, and not one business was for this.